Hey guys, what's up? It's the Tominator, and with the main event at the 2020 Mr. Olympia out of the way, now it's time to talk about Classic Physique. It was a deep lineup, but this essentially came down to a three-man show between reigning champ Chris Bumstead, former two-time champion Breon Ansley, and rising superstar Terrence Ruffin. And yeah, I was gonna use these pictures because they're a little clearer probably than the live stream, but then I realized that these were all taken from the finals. And then I checked out the scorecard, and evidently they don't even judge the finals? Wait, what? This leads one to ask, why the hell even bother with a confirmation round if they aren't actually scoring it? I mean, I can see the value in the posing routines because that's more about entertaining the fans, but why waste time with all these comparisons if you've already made your decisions? I gotta confess, I really don't get this division, guys. I don't get why they give them so little airtime and treat it like an afterthought, or why the prize money is still basically peanuts and less than minimum wage, when it easily seems to be the most popular category after the men's open. I also don't get why they don't make them hit all the poses, especially the front lat spread and side triceps, which are very classic looking shots. And I especially don't understand why they wouldn't score the posing routines when we all know that crafting a graceful, well-choreographed routine is one of the hallmarks of old-school bodybuilding. But anyway, enough ranting. It just bothers me that my criticisms from last year seem to be falling on deaf ears. Maybe we can get someone bigger like Nick Strength and Power to point it out to them so that they'll finally listen. Okay, but the point I was originally trying to make is that there was no value in using comparison pics from the finals since they apparently didn't even judge it, so that's why we're going to go with this webcast footage from the prejudging instead. In the front double biceps, I've got Bumstead. Breon's got better biceps, but otherwise he's not really winning anything, at least not outright. Chris has the better vacuum, taper, quads, and his bigger structure draws your eye more. Bumstead also brought up his biceps, and as we'll see in a moment, made some major gains from the back as well. So it seems like he took the criticisms to heart and made the necessary adjustments, and that's the mark of a champion. Terrence, however, is a distant third. He looks very aesthetic, and I love his shape, but those arms are undersized, and he's not as sharp. Plus, he's the smallest and gets overshadowed pretty thoroughly standing next to a tall guy like Bumstead. The side chest is an easy win for Chris. He looks amazing with that big, full, and striated chest, and has that hard, polished look. His conditioning was on point this year. The glute ham tie-in likewise looks excellent from the side, as do his calves. After that, it's gotta be Breon. Him and Terrence look similar here, but Breon is bigger and displaying more separation, especially through the shoulder, bicep, and side leg. His hamstrings are better also. Terrence looks a little too thin down there. He needs to bring those up to match his quads. From the rear, this is where Bumstead impressed me the most, and I think everyone for that matter. He made some serious progress on that back. It's actually astounding how much better he looks now compared to just 1 year ago. So just as a side note, I made a video after the 2019 Mr. O where I kind of criticized him for, not making very many improvements between 2017 and 2019, showing side-by-side comparisons. And sure, maybe he made minor improvements here and there, but the differences were minimal. This year, this is like a whole new bodybuilder when he turns around. This is precisely the sort of transformation I was hoping to see, but figured it probably couldn't happen given the weight cap. So I'm not sure, did they increase the weight limits again for Classic Physique? Because otherwise, I don't see how this is even physically possible. I mean, he looks to have added at least 5 pounds of muscle to that back alone. You can let me know in the comments, guys, but needless to say, this isn't a cakewalk for Breon anymore. He used to smoke Chris in it every time, but now it could arguably go either way. Breon's still got more detail and muscle maturity, and I'd give him the edge through the biceps and hamstrings. Maybe even the shoulders because they're so separated. But Bumstead's got the width and size advantage, right? And he's pretty close in terms of back thickness now, too. And downstairs, he's got the thigh sweep and calves in the bag. There does appear to be some weird-looking knot there in his right hamstring, though. I'm not sure what's going on. Did he have an injury or something? Because that looks kind of funny to me. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and give this pose to Breon, but only just. It's way closer than it used to be. Terrence Ruffin looks super peeled through the lower body. Those glutes are crisp and on the money. And his back is really good also, sort of like a blend between Bumstead and Breon's, only smaller. I still don't see how he beats either one of them though, so he has to be third again. In the ab shot, I'm not crazy about Bumstead or Breon, to be honest. Chris looks a little weak through the lower abdominals, and even appears somewhat narrow up top, despite having a great lat taper in other shots. I love his quads and serratus, though. Breon's abs, likewise, could be better. I mean, don't get me wrong, they both look top-notch by open standards, but this is classic physique, where the guys are much smaller, so we should expect nothing less than razor-sharp six-packs. But Ansley has no bilateral separation through the abs. I think he's solid, but would have to drop him down to third. Because Terrence now finally overtakes him in this pose. His abs are more cleanly defined, and the quads are proportionately bigger and stand out more. Plus, I prefer his overall flow here. He's got a beautiful X-frame. But when Bumstead hits this vacuum shot, it's all over. These other two might as well pack up and go home. I don't think you can overrate Chris's vacuum. This is on the same level as the all-time masters like Frank Zane and Tony Pearson. It's really been his calling card since day one, and is probably a major reason why he's the champ, because this is what Classic is all about. And finally, in the Classic pose of their choice, I also prefer Chris Bumstead. Breon is turning inwards too much, the angle isn't right. I think he could probably outdo Ruffin in this, but as it is, Terrence is presenting himself better, so I'd have to put him in second here. As for this second one, wow, Bumstead looks amazing in this twisting back double. He could almost pass for Arnold himself if only the biceps were a little better. When it comes to the other two, again, I think I'd give the nod to Ruffin in this Zane-like hands overhead. Breon looks really good too, though, in this crucifix front double hybrid, or whatever you want to call it. In the end, it was a shockingly easy decision. Bumstead won by a mile. It was more convincing even than Big Rami's victory. He's just got that wow factor, you know? The pristine tan and polish, the conditioning, the confidence and poise, the size and structure. He was the clear champion here today. I don't see how anybody with a functioning pair of eyes could claim otherwise. What isn't so obvious to me is how Terrence Ruffin managed to upset Breon to take that runner-up spot. In my opinion, Breon had second on lock the whole time. Pose for pose, he beats Terrence in 3 out of 5, no questions asked. You could argue that Terrence takes the classic pose, and I'd say he definitely has the ab and thigh, but that's still only 2 to 3. Even if the posing routines were counted, which I'm pretty sure they aren't, Breon is a massively underrated poser. I watched both performances, and for all the praise they heap on Terrence Ruffin, they barely said a word about Breon's posing, which was equally exquisite. I saw elements of Zane, McCoway, and even Schwarzenegger in there. It was very elaborate and graceful. Ruffin obviously is a fantastic poser himself. His routine recalled the legendary Lee Labrada, who I personally consider to be the greatest poser of all time. So I'm not suggesting Breon is better, but I would put their routines on par with one another at this show. So the edge couldn't have come from there. The only possible explanation I can think of is that this was more of a political decision. Maybe they didn't like how Breon was talking smack at the press conference, or being too aggressive on stage, jostling for position and crowding Chris Bumstead. So perhaps they were trying to send a message to him here. Or maybe they just thought they needed to spice things up, since it was getting kind of stale seeing the same top 2 4 years in a row. I'm not sure, guys, but I don't agree with it at all. No disrespect to Ruffin, who is really coming into his own and looked amazing for sure, but Breon was clearly a step above in my book. Alright guys, that's all I have to say on this one. Hope you enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more, and until next time, it's the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.